They say that everyone's a critic, but it's one thing to see a film critic lambaste a movie or a performance, and likewise for a paying audience member or home viewer to air their own personal gripes. But it is somewhat rare for an actor themselves to go public with their disdain for their own performance or for a project they've been involved in. With that in mind then, I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 horror movie actors who hated their own performances.
Number 8, Jamie Lee Curtis, Virus. Few actors are as synonymous with the horror genre as Jamie Lee Curtis. Sure, Curtis has gone on to have major success outside of horror, but it's hard not to be forever tied to this creepy corner of cinema when you have 7 Halloween movies, The Fog, Prom Night, Terror Train, and Road Games under your belt. While those films clearly vary in quality, quite magnificently in some cases, one picture that Jamie Lee has particular disdain for is her appearance in 1999's Virus. Based on the comic book of the same name, Virus is a sci-fi horror offering based around an alien entity on a mission to turn mankind into a race of cyborg slaves. Despite having an impressive headline cast of Jamie Lee Curtis, Donald Sutherland, and Billy Baldwin, John Bruno's movie was so horrendous that it didn't even make back half of its $75 million budget. As for Curtis's thoughts on Virus, back in 2010 she told WENN via the Express, "That's a piece of shit movie. It's an unbelievably bad movie, just bad from the bottom," end quote. Continuing on, the famed Scream Queen would add, quote, "It was maybe the only time I've known something was just bad and there was nothing I could do about it," end quote.
Number 7, Mark Wahlberg, The Happening. Mark Wahlberg seemingly hates Mark Wahlberg movies. While the actor was featured in our own 10 more actors who hate their own performances, which you can find over on the main What Culture channel, by the way, plug. That time lambasting his career best turn in Paul Thomas Anderson's stunning Boogie Nights, this time out he's included for throwing plenty of shade in The Happening's direction. During the press tour for 2010's The Fighter, Wahlberg discussed how The Fighter co-star Amy Adams was at one point up for The Happening and that she dodged a bullet by not landing a role in that M. Night Shyamalan picture. When asked about the first time he and Adams met, Wahlberg told the gathered press, as per The Hollywood Reporter, quote, "We actually had the luxury of having a lunch before to talk about another movie, and it was a bad movie that I did. She dodged the bullet and then I was still able to, I don't really want to tell you the movie, alright, The Happening. It is what it is. F***ing trees, man. The plants. F*** it." End quote. As alluded to by Marky Mark, The Happening does indeed center on plant life, or the effing trees, as he said, taking over the planet and attempting to kill off mankind. Number 6, Michael Caine, Jaws: The Revenge. Even the biggest Jaws fans find it tough to defend the atrocity that was Jaws: The Revenge. Swimming to the silver screen in 1987, Joseph Sargent's movie was riddled with ludicrous plot points overflowing with illogicality and struggled to muster up as much bite as even the oft-mocked Jaws 3 did. Here, a great white shark stalks Ellen Brody all the way from Amity Island to the shores of the Bahamas. Along the way, we have Michael Caine as a budding love interest for Ellen, after the between movies death of her husband Martin. And for Caine, he hasn't been shy about how he knew the movie and his own performance were utterly terrible. In a truly iconic response when asked about his turn in Jaws: The Revenge, Caine is believed to have said, quote, "I have never seen it, but by all accounts it is terrible. However, I have seen the house that I built and it is terrific," end quote. Online digging sadly doesn't throw up a precise source for that famed quote, although those sentiments are backed up in Caine's What's It All About biography, where he thanks Jaws: The Revenge for paying for his house and giving him a nice holiday. Number 5, Anne Hathaway, The Witches. The Witches may not have been a full-blown terrifying horror picture, but it is still a movie that blends together elements of horror, fantasy, and comedy. The second adaptation of Roald Dahl's 1983 novel of the same name, The Witches sees an orphan boy move in with his grandmother and discover that witches are in fact real, as shown by him soon coming face to face with the Grand High Witch. In this iteration of The Witches, it's Academy Award winner Anne Hathaway in the Grand High Witch role, a role for which special effects were used to give the character 3 fingers on each hand. Since the film's release, Hathaway has moved to apologize for her performance in The Witches after she was criticized for how limb differences were utilized as a tool to make her character somehow seem more evil and scary. Taking to Instagram, the actress said, quote, "I have recently learned that many people with limb differences, especially children, are in pain because of the portrayal of the Grand High Witch in The Witches. As someone who really believes in inclusivity and really detests cruelty, I owe you all an apology for the pain caused. I am sorry, I did not connect limb differences with the GHW when the look of the character was brought to me. If I had, I assure you this would never have happened," end quote. Number 4, Jennifer Aniston, Leprechaun. Every actor has to get their start somewhere, and for Jennifer Aniston, that start came back in 1993's Leprechaun. Rather than quipping wise, drinking coffee, and influencing millions of people across the globe with her hairdo though, Leprechaun found an Aniston who was vastly different to the Friends megastar that she'd go on to become. In Mark Jones's Leprechaun, Aniston's Tori finds herself tormented by Warwick Davis's titular creature on the O'Grady farmhouse she and her father are renting. And for the future Friends favourite, reflecting back on her performance in this 93 offering makes her simply cringe. As Aniston told Howard Stern in 2019 via People, quote, "I watched it like 8 years ago with our mutual friend Justin Theroux for shits and giggles. We were dating, it was one of those things when I tried to get that remote out of his hand and there was just no having it. He was like, no, this is happening, and I just kept walking in and out cringing," end quote. While her own performance in Leprechaun is tough to watch for Jennifer Aniston, she also described the movie as a cult classic that at the time made her feel like she'd made it in Hollywood. Number 3, Tom Hanks' He Knows You're Alone. Released in 1980, He Knows You're Alone is as formulaic a slasher movie as you can pretty much get. Clearly jumping on the slasher bandwagon that had been kickstarted with John Carpenter's legendary Halloween, this effort features a paper-thin plot that's painfully predictable. For Tom Hanks, he had the supporting role of Elliot, a psychology student. However, Elliot was that small a character in the film that his fate wasn't actually ever in question, with him surviving the movie and not even getting close to being in the crosshairs of this picture's bride-killing protagonist Ray. During an appearance on the David Letterman show, Hanks mocked his involvement in He Knows You're Alone, with this early career role being one he'd clearly rather forget. He said, quote, "I played a guy in this movie. I always said if this was Gilligan's Island, I would play the professor. It was that bad," end quote. Hanks would go on to laugh off the movie with Letterman, poking fun at the cliched tropes of the slasher subgenre and talking about how at that point the vast majority of his career was not made up of big-time films. Number 2, Heather Donahue, The Blair Witch Project. The case of the Blair Witch Project's Heather Donahue is a rather unique one when compared to the rest of the entries on this list. While Heather enjoyed the making of the Blair Witch Project and is proud of the job that all involved did, it's the fallout from her performance that troubled the actress. Speaking to GQ in 2016, Donahue revealed her performance in that revolutionary found footage offering led to her struggling to find work. Using her real name of Heather Donahue for her Blair Witch character, Heather revealed how some wouldn't hire her because they thought she was, quote, "that annoying bitch from the film," while others believed the Blair Witch Project's narrative that Heather really was presumed dead. So yeah, you can kind of see where she's coming from here. She clearly really enjoys the movie, but is a little bit resentful of how much aggro it caused her in the later years. Number 1, Anya Taylor-Joy, The Witch. From director Robert Eggers, 2015's The Witch is a movie that stands out as something of a modern cult classic. A 1630s set supernatural horror picture about a Puritan family engulfed by a looming large presence of evil. Eggers' directorial debut won plentiful praise from fans and critics alike, picking up numerous awards and managing to take home a cool $40 million box office haul against its $4 million budget. For star Anya Taylor-Joy in what was her movie debut, she was left quote-unquote devastated after watching The Witch for the first time. As the actress told IndieWire, her first watch of The Witch took place shortly before the film premiered at Cannes Film Festival in January 2015. She said, quote, "The director, Rob Eggers, showed us the film maybe 2 hours before the audience screening, and I was devastated. I thought I'd never work again. I still get shivers thinking about it. It was just the worst feeling of, I have let down the people I love most in the world. I didn't do it right. And I'm quite verbose. I like to talk, I like to communicate, but I did not talk. I just cried," end quote. Of course, since The Witch, Anya Taylor-Joy has starred in the likes of Split, Glass, Peaky Blinders, The Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance, Emma, The New Mutants, I guess you can't win them all, and picked up a Golden Globe Award for her role as Beth Harmon in The Queen's Gambit. So, clearly, she might have misjudged this one. So that's our list. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. What do you think about these performances and the reaction that the actors had to them? While you're down there, could you please give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to whatculture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.